Hello and good evening. Welcome along to Business Today. I'm Joram Ssonko with Winnie and Nakawuki on for the sign language. But first, let's have a look at our top stories.
In Business Today, Maisha Air Ambulance ventures further into East Africa's tourism industry emergency service. Traders cite poor sales on Eid as fasting period ends, post-resumption anticipated. National backbone infrastructure secures certainty as ICT Ministry, EU and Germany Development Agency, GES, join.
And well, in a happy Eid day to all our Muslim brothers and sisters. Now, speaking of Eid, we start with the season business fluctuations. As Muslims around the world observe the Eid, the end of the sacred month, businesses have been affected by changes in consumer behavior and spending patterns. Now, today we take a closer look at the impact of the Ramadan season on the business landscape, how it has been faring during this period, and the state of commerce on Eid day.
Today marks the end of Ramadan as the Muslim fraternity is celebrating Eid al-Fitr. It is so significant that this period had a strong impact on our economy. And we also managed to liaise with some traders in the city to find out how businesses have been operating and faring in this whole season. With the proportion of traders being Muslims, consumer behavior and trading activity during the Ramadan period always decline, resulting in lower production. This has had a negative impact on a number of economic sectors, especially the commercial sector, including retail, hotel and transportation.
A very big impact or influence comes from the Muslim community in as far as business is concerned. And even when you go downtown there, most of the shops are owned by Muslims. Because this is what they do, this is what they know best. They know trading, you know. So, bottom line, we have an impact. And as I highlighted, we have people that are saying, I'm going to work from morning up to midday. You know, how many hours are there that are left? Somebody's going back home to cook iftar. You know, how many people are going to be impacted with his absentia?
But when Muslims are not spending, it means there is cost of money in the economy. And when there is cost of money in the economy, it just implies that the purchasing capacity of some individuals will be low.
People tend not to move. People tend to do jobs which can't like squeeze them because they are fasting. People tend to give most of their lives to Allah. They let go some other things which are not in line with their faith. Yeah, so that become a very big negative impact to the economy.
On the contrary, the meat business, which always has success during this period, is having trouble keeping up with the increased demand for animals because this year's Eid day took many in the sector off guard. Most dealers expected Eid to fall on Saturday, for instance. A kilogram of beef now costs 20,000 shillings instead of 15,000 shillings like it was before.
Eid teyandibadde mbi naye obuzibu nti abasiraamu
It is going on well. The only challenge is we weren't prepared for it. We expected it to be on Saturday, and now livestock is so expensive, and we're making quite lots of losses.
Okusinziira ku mbeera gye tuze tutambuliramu okuva emabega Eid ya leero kale yawukanyeko ne Eid endala.
In comparison to the previous years, money is so scarce this season because most people are poor. It's been difficult to purchase and sell meat to them.
Even though the fasting season must have presented some difficulties, several businesses have benefited from Eid celebrations thanks to higher sales and charity donations. As a result, the economy grows as people buy new clothes and presents, take advantage of exclusive deals, and spend money in the hope of making a profit now that Ramadan is over. Bronya Katsime, Smart24 TV, Business Today.
And right now we take a look at the hotel industry reactions. In Uganda, changes in food habits and nutrient intake are typically associated with socio-economic advancement. A shift in demand, particularly for those in the hotel and restaurant industries, has resulted from Ugandans shifting consumption patterns away from locally grown food and pushed it towards imported commodities. While the Muslim community celebrates Eid, the stakeholders in the hotel industry report that there is a strong demand for fast food compared to staple dishes. Naomi Mutumba reports.
The primary agricultural items that Uganda sells to Europe are coffee, fruits and vegetables, but it also imports food, particularly wheat-based products. Due to food instability and hunger, Ugandans have resorted to eating fast food and imported goods, which has an impact on the economy's expansion. The youth are more drawn to exotic consumer goods, even though they can still get equivalent items made locally. This has also impacted the market and niche for indigenous Ugandan products, where the country has a competitive edge. According to hospitality stakeholders, the price of fast foods influences demand because it is slightly lower than the price of local food.
Local food, we tried our level best to serve it on a daily basis, but still the demand was low. Compared to the other restaurants, we are being compared that it is a higher price, but which may not be. But people right now, they are more into international food. Now, local food, we are into it very little because it is on a low demand. Yeah, we are into international food, fast foods, especially chips chicken, chips goat's meat, chips liver, chips fish. We try our level best. Yeah, on that one, the demand is high.
In business, we also adjust according to the demand that is at play. For example, initially there was a lot of matoke being sold, but now it's usually fast foods. So we have to adjust to meet the demand.
The hospitality industry has been in high demand as the Muslim community celebrates Eid al-Fitr. Restaurants and hotels report that the low demand for food during the fasting time hindered their capacity to generate profits.
Being an Eid day, there is a little bit of high demand compared to the Ramadan that has been on for a while, for over a month. They have been so slow in terms of business, and even the hotels, occupancies have been low. The general food restaurant has been a little slow, but today we can notice a slight increase in demand for consumables.
Our demand have been so low due to a number of our customers. It's a number of Muslim communities. Since we are near the masjid, the law firm we have up here, a number of the customers are all Muslims. The demand has been so low. Has been so low. According to the sales we've been doing daily on a daily basis, it has been so low, so down. But today it was so amazing because we had a high demand in every department. See, be it the barista, be it the chef, be it the cleaners, be it everywhere, we had a lot of demand.
The 30-day fasting period for the Muslim community has come to an end, and one of the sectors that are jubilant about this are the restaurants and hotels that deal in fast foods. These say they have had low demand for their products during this season. Naomi Mutumba, Smart24 TV, Business Today.
The unregulated East African community trade. Traders at the Uganda-Kenya border at the Malaba have petitioned the East African community to address the issue of free movement of goods, people and services at the border. The first Deputy Prime Minister and Minister for East Africa Affairs, Rebecca Kadaga, stated that there is still a significant barrier at the border that needs to be addressed in order to ensure that there is freedom of movement for people and market accessibility. We have details.
The traders' protest to the East African community comes after the closure of the tiny border crossings that have impeded the free flow of goods and services between the two countries and instead resulted in a rise in smuggling.
So, being in the border, you eat last, you do what? So what benefits us is the small gate. That is the only thing we get from the border. But that gate has been closed for long. Of recent, Honorable Bokobok was here, we raised the matter to him. The gate was open, very narrow. If you are to pass, you can't pass it. You have to bend and go.
Right Honorable Rebecca Kadaga, Minister for East Africa, evaluated the effectiveness of the East African Treaty's Common Market Protocol along the Uganda-Kenyan border and encouraged that the Cabinet will sit down on the situation.
Labour
the freedom of moving capital and services. I've come to assess that here. Now, there has been a big problem of accessibility, and I've directed the PRA people to enlarge what they call the small gate, but I also directed them to open 2 other gates which have been closed and which are hindrance to the free movement of people.
Following the closure of the tiny gate, Kenyan and Ugandan traders have faced losses due to an increase in smugglers transferring products between the two countries without paying taxes on imported items. Byron Chinene, the chairperson of the Regional Lorry Drivers and Transport Owners Organization, has urged that Uganda Revenue Authority should visit the region and educate people about the benefits of paying taxes rather than only carrying out enforcement.
Of the tax collectors is to empower the business industry to see that they grow and pay more taxes. That's how the country is going to grow. But if not that, if we just come up, we see them enforcing, fighting traders, blah, blah, arresting people, killing people. Just you kill someone because you have found him with just 50 kilograms of sugar, 5 liters of petrol, that those are the smugglers. The smugglers are there, they are big people, and they are aided by some of these individuals.
Samuel Chirumunda, Masekatsime for Smart24 TV, Business Today.
All right, now let's head to the Chigezi sub-region. A number of tourism stakeholders in the region have expressed their displeasure with local people living close to tourist attractions for progressively acquiring a habit of acting violently against visitors as a result of failing to provide them with money and other goods. Now, the stakeholders have expressed their displeasure that this behavior is harming their businesses and have asked the various local officials to educate the populace about the significance of tourism. Norbert Ndiamhachi compiled this report.
The Chigezi sub-region is well known for being in the middle of Uganda's tourist attractions, including Lake Bunyonyi, Africa's second deepest lake, and it also serves as a stopover point for travelers heading to Winnie Impenetrable Forest, a popular location for mountain gorilla trekking in the area, as well as Muhabura Ranges, among other attractions. The growing number of unemployed youth, particularly along Kabale-Rubanda-Kanungu Road through Ruinja to Winnie Impenetrable National Park, has resulted to a habit of begging and halting the tourist cars in order to solicit money, which has hampered the smooth operation of tourism activities. Zikereta urged security, tourism and responsible organizations to collaborate in order to raise awareness in these communities by introducing alternatives to begging, like opening up craft shops.
Tourist vehicles, whenever the guides are driving on this Ruhija road, going to Kanungu or going to Bwindi, Impenetrable National Park, that is Rushaga or in Kisoro, they have been stopped by these younger boys and girls begging for money, give me my money, and which is not good, of course, and as far as tourism is concerned, tourism development is concerned. I call upon the security and also responsible organization or tourism police and also other stakeholders to work as a team as we sensitize these communities how they should be behaving toward these clients.
The majority of villages, according to Garacia Nukato, a tour guide with Uganda Safari Guides Association in the Western region, specifically the Chigezi sub-region, have not been educated about the significance of tourism. Additionally, he urges the various district tourism agencies to mobilize and meet with populations in their villages and engage them in disclosure about the value of tourism in this area.
I think we call upon the district tourism officers, the district tourism officers, to engage these people in dialogue, to go on radios and educate them. They can also mobilize and find them in their communities, especially these communities that are close to tourism attraction areas. Talk of Lake Bunyonyi, surrounding areas, we have those, the Echuya ecosystem, the Mugahinga and Bwindi. Talk of the Queen Elizabeth. It is the same all over. So you find people on the road, they don't respect tourists.
Main important is to mindset change so that these communities can see the value of the tourist. Because the tourist, when he comes, he pays money to the hotel, to the tour operator, and the tour operator pays taxes. The taxes are supposed to in turn bring the social services to the community, so that is the hospitals and the roads and education.
Police are required to protect their citizens regardless of whether they are tourists or commoners. However, majority of tour operators have resorted to using private securities, and as a result, no complaints about mistreating tourists have been filed yet.
You know, generally, the internal security of the country is in our hands, and that's why we are supposed to provide security to the general population, and whether we have visitors who have come for tourism or not, we are supposed to provide security general. However, some tourism companies use private security.
Kigezi sub-region contributes 65% towards revenue collected from tourism sector. According to the Ministry of Tourism, there were 814,508 foreign tourists to Uganda in 2020, an increase of 59% from the previous year. Nearly 2.7 trillion shillings in tourism revenue was made, accounting for 12.2% of all exports and 41.4% of service exports. Nubat Ndiamuhachi, Masika Tsime for Smart24 TV, Business Today.
Now, still speaking of tourism, the emergency aviation services has been added to the catalogue of tourism support products for providing fast and efficient means for safety. This development is expected to reassure and attract tourism confidence to new and remote destinations. And amidst this, the Association of Tour Operators has called upon government to invest in the private sector in order to boost the entire tourism industry. Ronan Ahab reports.
The tourism conversation has been among the top business-focused subsectors, with President Museveni recently emphasizing the significance of strengthening Uganda's private sector so as to increase the country's tourism export earnings. He expressed his desire for every tourist to spend a minimum of $10,000. However, the Association of Uganda Tour Operators has pointed out that insufficient support from government to the private and cities need for extra investment in various fields to ensure better tourism export earnings as the sector devises better products to support tourism.
It's no secret that the tourism industry is one of the highest earners, into the country. But what the Excellence is doing and in making sure that export earnings increase using tourism as an influential industry is a good thing, but I do think that the first thing that needs to be done is to invest into the industry. Much investment is needed to ensure that the earnings that are desired get into the industry. And that will come through especially supporting the private sector, who are the real drivers of the tourism industry. So they need to inject some more money into the industry, and especially the private sector, because they are the drivers of the industry. Okay. That is the only way that will have the earnings increase.
Tourism emergency services has been added to the catalogue of private sector developments to leverage the industry with emphasis on safety. Through their collaboration, Maisha Air Ambulance and Amref Health Africa have worked out means to enhance the reputation of the industry in Africa by promoting high-quality medical care for tourists. This envisions bigger visitor numbers to the region.
As long as you become a member at a very low cost. The annual premiums for what we call the Maisha cover is as low as $66 US. But if you don't have this cover and you need to be evacuated for a health emergency to Nairobi or elsewhere in the world, it could take you as much as $1,300 US for the same service. So our encouragement is that every individual can subscribe to this Maisha cover, so that in case of an event or an accident or an emergency, you're able to secure yourself an evacuation at least to Nairobi for as low as $66.
Basically, our air ambulance services mean that we're able to evacuate or transport somebody in dire need quickly and professionally to a center where they can get professional help. For example, if somebody is up country or has an incident or accident in a national park, for example, we are aware in our region specifically that hospitals can be very far from the point at which these people get the problem. Ideally, somebody should not be more than 30 minutes from a hospital, but that's not the case. in our place, we have find ourselves hours away from a hospital, and that's where the need to use an aircraft for a safe, fast transfer becomes very important. So those are the services Amref Flying Doctors offers.
Despite implementing measures to ensure tourists' health and safety, the initiative has faced various challenges, notable among the many being infrastructure inefficiency.
Infrastructural problems that we experience quite a lot is that majority of the airstrips in our region are not lit. They're not tarmacked, they're not fenced, they're not secured, and they are mostly unmanned. So, for example, you may find animals on the runway, or you may find people riding motorbikes. Some of them can be as notorious as holding markets on the airstrips on Saturdays.
Uganda Tour Operators Association is convinced that the availed emergency package is affordable and urges tourists to embrace the cost-effective rates provided by their service.
The Association of Uganda Tour Operators is in a partnership with Amref Flying Doctors, and this partnership helps in such a way that where the tour operator is operating individually and not as part of the association, they stand to miss out, because we've negotiated a rate where the tour operator that is associating with the association already gets $24 per 30 days. Yeah. So if you're not operating within the association, that means that you lose out on the freebies that is given by Amref Flying Doctors. Because while as the person out there is paying $32, the auto members are paying $24. So that is a plus for the tourism industry.
Emergency service has been locally predominant on road as opposed to aviation. Tourism agencies are now committed to enhancing their reputation and services as safe and reliable. Eventually, this is expected to attract more tourists. Ronana Habwe, Smart24 TV, Business Today.
All right, now to build up on this very conversation regarding the tourism and emergency medical services, we now link up with Dr. Joseph Lelo, who is the medical director, Amref Flying Doctors, to discuss more of the Maisha cover and, of course, trying to understand what it means when it comes to tourism and emergency medical services. A very warm good evening, Doctor. Many thanks for joining us.
Thank you very much. It's a great pleasure here. Good evening.
All right, good evening to you as well. Let's start off from there with our kind of discussion here. Why do you choose tourism, for instance, in regards to this kind of emergency services?
The emergency services are available to all. It's just that we have a partnership that we are trying to grow with the Association of Uganda Tour Operators, and we have a new product that is targeted to specifically the tourism market. So this is a short-term cover that basically covers a tourist or traveler into the region just for 30 days while they're here, and within those 30 days, should they have an emergency, they have access to medevac services to a hospital that they can receive proper care.
All right, now that brings me to my other question. If you're to compare with the tourism measure, how does it compare with other emergency medical services?
Yes, that's a very good question. I think for tourists, they come into this region with a lot of concern, a lot of worry. They usually don't understand what kind of medical services they are. They don't know whether they'll get malaria after being bitten by a mosquito while on a boat somewhere. So I think the difference specifically that we see with the tourists and the local regional market is that the tourists tend to be more worried, and they really totally depend on reassurance that during an emergency or any need, that they'll have access to professional medevac services to a proper hospital within the region in the shortest time possible.
All right, now when you look at the Ugandan market, first of all, do you think this is a project that the Ugandan tourism industry is willing to welcome by your kind of observation?
Oh yes, I think we have seen quite a positive uptick from the tour operators. We have seen a lot of interest in tourists who travel into our region, because our approach is to look at the East African region as a whole. I think we've got more than 5 million visitors annually, and these numbers are only expected to improve in our region. So we have a solution, and we see the uptake has been good. I think the reassurance that having such a membership gives visitors is important, and it falls in very well with what we're trying to do to grow tourism in the region.
And now let's look at the region as a whole. East Africa broadly. How have you covered the region? Because by the look of things here, we have a $15 to $55 products. Is the price tag really welcomed on the market? Does it seem so fair? And do you think it will be something the East African tourism industry will accept?
Oh yes, indeed. The price actually, if you compare to the actual cost of what it takes to fly a person in an aircraft,
okay.
This is one paying passenger who's flown in an emergency with a doctor and a nurse on board and an experienced pilot in a well-maintained plane to be flown from up country to a city to receive medical care. I think you'll find that $55 is actually quite competitive and quite fair if you compare to the actual cost, which might be in excess of $10,000. So for a tourist, typically the data has shown that they spend about at least $2,000 on their travels here. So $55 for that peace of mind and access to such a service, I think it's a very good deal for them.
All right, now for my viewers, I would wish you to at least break down for us, if you are to differentiate for us, between the Maisha cover and then the tourist scheme B. Where's the difference?
So the scheme B is outdated now. So what we have is a Maisha tourist cover,
okay,
and we have Maisha annual cover. So Maisha tourist cover is a short-term cover, which you can take for 30 days, and then the Maisha annual, which is what we sell for people who are resident here, for our locals, our citizens, our workers in the region. They buy the Maisha annual, our school kids, for our parents. That's a different kind of cover that runs for a whole year. For a traveler, the Maisha tourist is there for them. For example, somebody who might be a member in Uganda, who wants to travel from Uganda into Rwanda, they have access and they can buy a short-term cover for that particular travel period, and when they're back, they can go back to buying the gold cover within Uganda. So that's a typical difference. It's just a market segmentation for short-term and for long-term annual stay.
All right, Doctor, but by the look of things here, if you're to compare Uganda's tourism industry with that of Kenya and Tanzania, plus Rwanda, obviously, how do you rate these two? How would you rate these four industrial sectors?
I would say we are growing, and we really, because we see quite a lot of tourists doing the circuit. Okay. They would come maybe to Kenya, Uganda, Tanzania, or Kenya, Tanzania, and then Zanzibar. We see tourists going from Uganda to Rwanda, DRC. So there's a lot of growth, and as I said, we have at least in total for those countries, we have over 5 million visitors who come into the region every year. And we can only expect more growth, and what we can do is offer better quality and peace of mind for these travelers who are coming into our region. Thank you.
All right, now let's talk matters insurance integration. If you had to look at this, what's there to know in regards to eligibility and then the premiums available in regards to the insurance within the sector?
Yeah, so with insurance, actually, the Maisha product ties in very well. We have seen insurance companies taking this as a rider, as an add-on, value add, or just an extra cost addition to what they already offer in the region. Because what Maisha membership gives you is speed and assurance that you'll be talking to the service provider, which an insurance company, as an insurance company, is not a service provider. They are an insurer and would rely on service providers to offer this kind of cover. So the service integrates very well. It does not compete directly with insurance because there's a lot that the Maisha cover doesn't cover that insurance companies do. So it is something that complements what our local insurers offer, and it's an add-on in terms of value for our region that a tourist can have rapid access and would not have to call his insurance, which could be in Europe or in the US when in trouble.
Okay, in reference with the fact that tomorrow is the World Earth Day, I would wish to ask, how important do you think climate protection towards the wildlife and of course the tourism sector, when you look at this, how important is this?
I would say it's ultimately the most important thing, because without this wildlife, without conservation, we would not have these visitors who really help us to build our economy. So we are doing our part in supporting the increase in number of visitors. We are supporting the quality and the value offering that our region has. So we tie in very well. We are great supporters of conservation in this part of the world as well, directly as AMREF, Flying Doctors. So we are part and parcel of the tourism market, and we are actually here for good when we talk about healthcare in the region. So AMREF will always be there.
All right, AMREF indeed. Now, lastly, as we're summing up with our discussion, in your final remarks though, I wish you to at least comment something on how do you anticipate the market growth in the long run, Uganda's market growth, especially in the tourism industry?
Yeah, I think it can only be better. We are seeing a lot of interest in the fishing circuit. There's a lot of people who travel just to fish. We're seeing golf tourism picking up. We're seeing adventure tourism, which Uganda is very well known for. Gorilla trekking, zip lining, and other trekking activities. So those can only pick up. We're seeing younger travelers into the region. So we have people in their 20s up to teenagers who are coming in, backpackers. So I think the number can only grow, and maybe over to our tourism authorities to see whether we can improve our offering or increase our offering to be able to compete on the world market.
All right, and many thanks for joining us. We do wish you a blessed night and a wonderful weekend, Dr. Lelo.
Thank you very much. It's been a great pleasure to join you this evening.
Pleasure's ours. Have a good night. And there you have it. Obviously, as we were talking, issues to do with tourism, investment, but this time around looking at tourism and emergency medical services. And we had Dr. Joseph Lelo, who is a medical director from the AMREF Flying Doctors, as he was taking us through details to do with insurance covers, the Maisha cover, and of course trying to put us into the perspective of insurance and of course emergence in regards to Uganda's tourism industry. Well, after the break, we do return with more business today, so stick around. Good evening.
Smart24 Driving Business.
Yogera neddembe weefunire MTN Freedom Bundles ezitaliko komo nyiga star emu star 2 hashi oba kozesa my MTN app ofune bundle bweziti endala awamu tewali kitulema.
The taste of Uganda in a new international park.
He must be rich, tall, handsome, from a respectable family. He must have a maid because at our home we do not work.
Conductor Masao.
What? Obadde olobye ku simu?
Yamunange anti yo TV enkolera.
Nyumirwa omulembe omupya ogujjudde ebisanyusa omuli emikutu gya TV egisukka mu 8 n'egya radio nga kwotadde ne zifirimu ng'osinziirira wonna w'oli. Genda mu App Store oteeke app ya Yo TV channels ku simu yo olwo onyumirwe ennaku 3 ng'olabira bwereere ewatali kozesa data. Yo TV channels.
Smart24 Driving Business.
It's a pleasure having you back. Let's continue with more business today. Now, the passing of Keith Mwakenizi on April 13th has left a profound impact on many who knew him. Just 64 years old, he was a man of many accomplishments, known for his unwavering dedication to Uganda's economic development. Now, in this report, Martha Nimsima breaks down a little bit more of a brief background of the late Keith Mwakenizi.
This money stays in the economy. Uganda, that's why we do these things.
Mwakenizi fought relentlessly for Uganda's economic reforms. He was crucial in the creation and application of laws meant to stabilize the economy, lower inflation, and encourage growth. The macroeconomic performance of Uganda significantly improved under his leadership.
As an icon of public finance management is that he has been in the system for the last 39 years. He worked in the Ministry of Finance for the last 39 years. So he's the one who really started most of the reforms and even implemented them. I know about him because he never feared change. Because every reform that comes in government means that you have to change systems and procedures. But for him, anything that promised better results, he would get into it and fully engage into it.
Following the continuous discussions about the supplemental budget, he was the driving force behind the Public Finance and Management Act modification in 2015, which aimed to improve accountability and transparency in the handling of public funds. The revised Public Finance Management Act tightened restrictions on supplementary, requiring that any financial transfers be authorized by the Parliament and made public.
So 1 year into implementation, we realized we needed supplementaries for genuine, obvious reasons. The president can be invited abroad. The president may be getting a visitor, and we didn't budget for that. Oh, there is war. The appropriation for the Ministry of Defense is finished. Oh, there is insurrection in Kampala. The youth are demonstrating. Police needs money. Now we are saying no supplementary. So they realized, no, we needed that back. So in his first year of implementation, he said, no, we have to go back to Parliament and amend this law. So it is one of those laws that as soon as implementation began, the process of amending it also began. But that was him in terms of trying to say, we need to deliver the result. The means can be debated. The result should not be debated.
Mwakenizi also played a crucial role in the management of government finances while serving as the permanent secretary and secretary to the Treasury of Uganda. He implemented important reforms like the Treasury Single Account Consolidated Fund, which now consolidates all government revenues into one account and makes it simpler to track and manage government expenditures.
A debate had gone on whether we should introduce it. IMF said you should. The previous management kept saying, let's still study it more. When he became PSST, he said, this now starts this year. Let it be one pool. Whoever is ready takes the money. Whoever is not ready, you will come when you are ready. You will find more money there. This is like a whale. Money comes in every day. Whatever you find is what you will take. That has eased the liquidity flow of government.
Additionally, he introduced the Budget Transparency Initiative through supporting organizations like CSBAG, which plays an important role in advocating for greater transparency and accountability in public finances and expenditures.
He decided to open up the budget process. He actually, under his leadership, started the Budget Transparency Initiative in the Ministry of Finance with the support of the Director of Budget then, Kenneth Mugambe. And that Budget Transparency Initiative made it a policy within the ministry that civil society organizations must participate in the budget process. That's number one. That civil society organization must receive budget information. And the ministry established the budget website. that today you go on a budget website and access budget information, which had never happened in this country called Uganda.
As Uganda makes strides towards sustainable economic development, the contribution of deceased economists such as Emmanuel Tumusime Mutebire, former governor of the Bank of Uganda, Jacinto Kasami, and the recently deceased Muhakanizi will continue to provide guidance towards a prosperous future for the country. Although the precise date has not yet been determined, Muhakanizi will be buried in Nyantonde as a tribute to his legacy. Martha Nimsima, Smart24 TV, Business Today.
Elsewhere, let's talk women enterprise development. To maximize business innovation in the wake of technology advancement and climate, women in business are organizing a Women Business Expo that will provide room to survey the available opportunities and the new market trends. Now, the expo will help women access information about recovery funds for small businesses initiated by the Bank of Uganda and the Business Formalization.
According to MasterCard Index of Women Entrepreneurs report, despite Uganda being the top country in Africa with the biggest number of women-owned businesses, the growth and advancement of the majority of these enterprises have not advanced. The expo that was organized by the Archdiocese of Barara Development Association, AMDA, scheduled for next month, is an effort to support the entrepreneurial journey of women in Uganda.
Same time, as a federation, as you know, we have different avenues through which we are supporting women-led businesses. With Bank of Uganda, I want to ensure that more women-led businesses can access the small business recovery fund. So during that expo, we shall also use it as an opportunity to explain to AMDA women how can you take advantage of this money, because it has been allocated by government to support the recovery of businesses.
Get people in a number of existing services such as business registration and issues of taxation, so that people have information and on how to go about this as they grow their businesses. We will also be having people who have been in the business for some time, and they'll be sharing their experiences so that people can have information and have the courage to go and start and expand and deal with weaknesses that they're experiencing in their businesses, also tap into existing opportunities.
In response to technological advancements and climate change, women in business are also planning to promote their business innovations through this expo, as well as networking with other enterprises to gain more expertise. Tonjeri Helen, a businesswoman, at the same time an exhibitor, believes that this expo will help them share the burden of regulations and taxation to the concerned stakeholders.
The regulation is a bit of a big burden on the business people. We find like maybe the taxes, the compliance on the tax, the tax compliance is a very big burden on the business person. We find the assessment is done and you're given a very big amount that you need to pay as a tax, or the business has just started and you're expected to pay a license of a big sum, which you have not made.
Even a business with one employee is expected to file with the NSSF, you see. Now, this is completely laborious. You're not giving someone breathing space until they're ready to actually. So the compliance burden is too big. So if we want to increase formalization, we must make sure that we strike a balance between regulation and allowing businesses to thrive. If we over-regulate, we are not going to support our businesses to grow.
52.5% of the labor force is made up of women, who represent a significant talent pool for Uganda's development, particularly in the fields of entrepreneurship and the expansion of micro, small and medium-sized companies. It's widely acknowledged that women have greater hurdles than men in starting, operating and growing their businesses, since they are more likely to be hampered by lack of critical capacities, skills and resources. Bedson Mumbere, Smart24 TV, Business Today.
Elsewhere, the Ministry of ICT, together with the United Nations Development Programme, German Development Agency, GIZ and other development partners are looking forward to implementing the national backbone infrastructure. which is a 5-year digital transformation roadmap set to improve Uganda's socio-economic position.
The $106 million national backbone infrastructure stands as a critical data and communication initiative that government anticipates to utilize in effecting digital transformation, an index to boost economic growth, a revamp and efficiency of digital services in the public sector domain, for instance digital payments and transactions, fast communication among other provisions, are banked on as commitment has been expressed by the Ministry of ICT, European Union, GIZ and United Nations Development Programme.
We have this engagement today bringing most of the development partners from Europe is for us to have a discussion and conversation around how we can together transform digital transformation in this country.
With digital transformation, the economy is expected to rise up to 3.2 million new jobs by 2025 and contribute up to $3.8 billion to the country's GDP. The backbone infrastructure is expected to enhance financial inclusion, speed of access to services and efficiency in sectors such as trade, healthcare, education, among others.
Transformation can have a huge impact on economic growth in Uganda, and especially also in creating opportunities for the young population. But in order to be really getting the maximum out of what everybody is putting in, we need this coordination to take place.
The project will be one of the key initiatives as the roadmap seeks to connect all major towns in Uganda, providing affordable and reliable internet connectivity to businesses and individuals. The government has invested over $106 million in the NBI project as it is expected to enhance e-commerce, e-government and e-learning among other digital services.
Innovation and Smart Cities program, and we have others of course that are looking at inclusive growth, nature, climate, resilience. We are looking at issues to do with the youth and governance, but we've specifically during this cycle that is running over the next 3 or so years, we've focused on digitalization as well. So within the framework of our digitalization, innovation and smart cities program, and I must thank you, PS, because you're very instrumental in the design of that program when you supported us before you assumed this wonderful job, but also a big challenge. So within the framework of our program, we are looking basically at the enabling environment, and through that work, we provided support to the Ministry of ICT towards the design of the digital transformation roadmap.
Each of Uganda's 146 districts is set to have an innovation hub that will promote entrepreneurship and innovation, facilitating mentorship, training, and access to financing for startups and SMEs.
We are bridging that gap by focusing on 3 pillars. One is data, accessibility to data. Then 2 is technical know-how. And then 3 is policy. So under data, we are trying to ensure there is readily available data for developing artificial intelligence technologies, and then building on the skill set. So we are doing a lot of capacity building, both in private sector and government.
As government implements the digital transformation project, monitoring its progress and addressing challenges, for instance, sector-related taxes and incentives, remain important for digital infrastructure development. Martha Nimsima, Smart24 TV, Business Today.
All right, now that brings us to the end of Business Today on this ED Day special. First, let's have a rewind of our top stories.
In Business Today, Maisha Air Ambulance ventures further into East Africa's tourism industry emergency service. Traders cite poor sales on Eid as fasting period ends, post-resumption anticipated. National backbone infrastructure secures certainty as ICT Ministry, EU and Germany Development Agency, GIZ, join.
It's 10 minutes to 10 o'clock and the weekend is ahead of us, dear viewers. From the entire team here at Plot 42 Nile Avenue, I'm Joram, Ssonko, Winnie, and Nakawuki on for the sign language. Plot 42 Nile Avenue, Smart24 Television, the entire newsroom, production and the editorial. We do wish you a happy Eid al-Fitr to all our Muslim brothers and sisters. A blessed weekend to the entire business community. Till Monday. On Sunday will be the business edition, and you'll be having a rerun of the top stories with Mase Katsime. Please do make a date with her at 8 p.m. Sunday. For now, good evening.